Oops. Open my chat. Okay. Hi, good evening. Good evening, cubies and newbies. I am Sunshine, and this is the ABCube method for solving Rubik's Cubes. Beginning of the weekends, Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Anybody have plans for the weekend? Have fun things to do? Let's see here. Streamfarer. Hello, hi, welcome to my channel. All right, ABCube method is two formulas is all you need to solve every size and shape of every size of n by n by n Rubik's Cube. It is somewhat helpful for other puzzles that are not cubes, like so. I can almost do these puzzles entirely with just A and B. I do have to. There are two algorithms I have to use for the last layer edges in order to get them correct, and then everything else can be done with A and B. So those are nice, but there are some cubes that I just cannot do. A and B just doesn't work on them because they're shapeshifters. So all right. A is 4 moves, B is 8 moves. You hold the cube as if you're looking at the front of the cube as if it's a spreadsheet with rows and columns. And the arrow represents the single slice that you're moving, be it a column or a row, and the line represents all the rest of the cube. So instead of having, I started off with 3 lines because it was 3 by 3 cube, but that I found that if I reduced it just to the line and the cube that moves, piece that moves, and everything else, then I could scale it up and down to all of the cubes and have them apply. So it was easier that way than for having, say for instance, 7 arrows, 7 lines for a 7 by cube, because you're really only using 1 row. For the formula B, you're really only ever using 1 row and 2 columns. For formula A, you're really only using 1 row and 1 column. So, and you don't have to memorize which columns do what, because the cube itself dictates which columns you move based on the piece that you want to move. So let me give you some examples here before I finish off on these ones. I preloaded this with some A's and B's. My first step, and you don't have to do the order of operations that I do. This works on any cube, whichever way you have been solving it. Whatever state of scramble or solve that it is in, you can pick it up and put it down solved. So, but I always do the corners first because they all have corners, and I solve all of them the same way. So the first 4 corners here, these white corners are all correct to each other, and the yellow corners are not yet correct to each other. So the first thing I do for the second 4 corners, whether it's the first thing or the last thing that the cube needs, the second 4 corners is, once you've established what the face color is, top color is going to be, in this case it's yellow, is to bring the yellow to the top on all of the corners, and then look to see whether the sides match, rather than trying to place the cubes where they belong before orienting them. So this cube is correct, and this cube, A will affect this cube. So I'm doing formula A with this cube here. So bottom row out, right row down, bottom row in, right row up. Yellow's not on top yet, so I keep doing formula A. I repeat it until the yellow is on top. Yellow's on top, slide it out of the way to keep it safe, and keep going on the next cube that needs affecting, which is this one. So more formula A until the yellow's on top. Slide it again out of the way and keep moving for this one. Out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up. And when the yellow's on top on all 4 corners, then you look to see what the other colors are doing, if they match. So orange does not equal blue, red does not equal orange, blue does not equal red, but green equals green. So at this point, either all of the sides of the corners will match, none of them, or one of them will. You'll never have two sides that match, or three sides that match. It's either 4, 1, or 0. So the corners that match go away from you, and we move on to Formula B, which is 8 moves. Top row, and because we're working on the corners, it's the 2 outside columns. So matching corners away from you, slide up, slide up, slide down, and then use A to bring your yellow back to the top again. Bottom right, away, down, in, up. Keep going. And I don't move the cube, I only move the top row to protect it. As long as I don't move the cube, then the rest of the cube, the Formula A only affects the pieces I want it to affect, and the rest of the cube is unharmed. So now yellows are on top, corners match to each other. So I set the top so that the corners match the top to the bottom, and all 8 corners are correct now. So so that's how A and B work on the corners. From A works on the absolute center as well, but beyond that, where everything else is going to be Formula B. So I look for I look for what doesn't have yellow on the top, and that would be this piece right here. So I line up, the corners match the front. It's going in the blue direction. Up, up, down, down. Set the top, and this cube had a corner parity, which I resolved, and it transferred to the edges being incorrect. So I'm going to work on these edges now, but I work on opposite edges first and then the side edges. So my whites are all done. I'm going to work on my yellows now. So I'm going to work with one. I'm breaking them apart so I can work with them one at a time. Okay, here's the blue going in the yellow direction. Up, up, down, down. Here's the red. Nope. Okay. All right. So I still have yellows that are not correct. So I'm going to. This one's not correct. I will displace a piece into here to work on that yellow. So I'm working on the opposite edges being white and yellow right now. Here's this yellow is lined up to the blue. Away, up, in, up, away, down, in, down. Another yellow to move out. And, okay, another yellow to move out. I'm going to move them all out right now. Treat them as one, but it's not going to let me maintain that. Up, up, down, down. Okay, one of the orange. Okay, so now the opposite corners, opposite edges, yellow and white are left and right. So now I can work on the side edges. The problem here is that if I line up the centers, then the edges are off, and if I line up the edges, then the centers are a quarter off. If this were a 3 by 3, this would be a parity. But it's not a 3x3 because these 4 pieces are not actually one piece. If it was one piece, it'd be a problem. But it's not, so I'm going to displace them. I'm going to break them apart and let them find each other later. And just when I displace the yellow edges, a yellow to do the sides, I only move one piece at a time. Now the edges looked correct because of the reduction method, but if they had been correct, we wouldn't have had the parity. So we have to let the cube do what it wants instead. So corners match the front, it's going in the green direction. Up, up, down, down. Corners match the front, it's going in the blue direction. Up, up, down, down. Corners match the front, it's going in the blue direction. And when yellow comes back to the top, we assess. So the side edges are not correct yet, so I'm going to displace one of my yellows into an incorrect spot and keep going with placing the not yellows. Corners match the front, it's going in the green direction. Up, up, down, down. Corners match the front, it's going in the blue direction. Up, up, down, down. Corners match the front, it's going in the blue direction. Away, up, up, down, down. And another one. Up, up, down, down. And the parity resolved itself because it was artificially created by pairing the edges. So that's using formula B for the corners is top and outside. Edges is top and outside and inside columns, depending on the columns being where the cube's going to end up and where the cube begins. And then the only thing left on this cube is to do a center. So this piece is incorrect, it's yellow, so it's going to move to the top, so yellow's on top. I line up the horizontal so that it's going to be advantageous. And then, so that was my top row, and then the 2 columns are, this piece goes up, I have to move it to a different column, and that's my second column. Reverse, down, reverse, down. And so A and B is all you need. A brings the color to the top, B moves 3 pieces around, and that's all you ever need to do. First time chat, Adam X 608. Hi, thank you for joining me. Are you a cubist, or are you looking to learn how to solve a cube, or a new way to solve the cube? Or do you just want to have me in the background talking about cubes while you go about your way? I am Sunshine, in case I don't know when you joined me, but I am Sunshine, and I created the ABCube method for solving the Rubik's Cube. That's formula A, that's formula B, and those are all of the algorithms, all of the formulas that you need to learn in order to solve every size Rubik's Cube. Formula A brings a color to the top, formula B moves 3 pieces around, and that's all you ever need to do to solve the cube. So you don't have to, this is not a speeding method. Is that for blind? BLD is blind, right? I don't know how to do blind. I assume I look at it and plan ahead of time what's going to happen after I do which things, and my brain's not that clever. But this is a brand new newbie method for solving every size cube. It works on every cube is solved in the exact same way. I do the corners, in which case the 2x2 is solved, and every other cube, the corners dictate what color that side's going to be, that face is going to be. And then I do the edges, in which case the 3x3 is solved. Where's my 3x3? 3 by 3 is solved. And everything else has a nice cage surrounding the centers that still need to be solved. But having the corners and edges already done, the edges are then a visual reminder for which rows and columns I'm working on, so I don't get confused. So, so I've decided for me that it's easier to go work outside in, because that way, if you do have a parity, you can resolve it as it comes up. You don't have to have a memorized algorithm for solving the parity at the end. And reduction method, you're more likely to have a parity. And parities are actually, a parity is a lie. There's never a parity. A parity is a optical confusion. A parity is where it looks like there's two pieces and only two pieces that need to be exchanged, but it is always three pieces because of the nature of the cube, because of the mathematics of the cube, which you don't have to know, but you can trust. So if it looks like there's a parity, if it looks like, whether that parity, whatever it looks like, whether they're opposite of each other or adjacent to each other or on different faces altogether, anytime there's two pieces and only two pieces that need to be interchanged, the third piece that you don't see is the piece that you don't see, meaning that the slice, the inner slice, as long as it's the slice that is touching the parity, 1/4 turn like that, under the parity dissolves. You solve it under that, in that portion, that configuration, and the parity disappears. So you don't have to memorize parity algorithms. So this, when I'm teaching this, it takes me between 1.5 hours and 2 hours total teach time to take a brand new beginner who's a non-cuber and have them be able to walk away knowing that they can pick up any cube they want and put it down solved. So while it's not designed for speed cubing, it does help increase your intuitive awareness of how the cube works, because you see it happening. You see the same thing happening over and over again, so your mind actually starts to understand how the cube works instead of just using using the algorithm as if it were a cheat code. So you can start intuiting more of the cube before you start using algorithms. So that's me. That's my method. So do I speed cube, or am I like a teacher? I have been cubing and teaching since the early 80s. It depends on how you define a speed cuber. If you define a speed cuber as anyone who times themselves and practices, hopes to, for the purpose of hoping to increase your time, then yeah, I'm a speed cuber. My speed cubing, my average is about 1.5 minutes. I'm not fast because the muscle memory that I have is from from the early 80s, where the cubes were very not user friendly. You could not do finger tricks in the early 80s because the cubes, it took 2 hands to make each turn. But anything that goes faster than my eyes can follow is just magic to me. So I have not broken a minute. I'm certainly not less than 20 seconds, but and I get more fun out of teaching than I do out of speed cubing, because it's just thrilling to have people will come up to me and I'll have a cube in my hand and they'll go, "Wow, do you really know how to solve that?" And they're asking, "Wow, are you that flavor of genius? Because I'm not that flavor of genius. That's amazing that you can do that, but I can never do that." And I just put the cube in their hands and say, "Yeah, but you can do it too." And then I just show them Formula A and tell them what it's going to do, and it does it, and their eyes just light up big as saucers. They're like, "Wow!" And then they come over and I teach them, and they understand that what they thought was intimidating is no longer intimidating, because this is the secret. So I gather those people who do not have the mental bandwidth to spend weeks and months and have cheat sheets and practice and memorize all of the different algorithms. I just show them Formula A and Formula B, and like I said, in between an hour and a half and 2 hours total teach time, they can pick up any cube and solve it. And some of my students have gone on to be very, very fast speed cubers. One of my students went on to do the fewest move challenge. He's he's about 20 seconds, but he prefers the fewest move challenge to the speed solving. But in my claim to fame is that I can teach anybody. I've only met one person I couldn't teach, and that was because my sister didn't want to learn. So it takes me about, like I said, I can do it and solve it, the 3x3, in about a minute and a half, but I can teach a large cube and all cubes in about an hour and a half. So that's me. That's who I am. Do I speed cube? I never really started. The only times I speed cube is when I'm using my ABCube, because it has a built-in timer in it, and it tells me what I've done. And so when I'm using my ABCube, it will tell me how fast I am. And my average is about a minute and a half. My fastest is a minute 21. So I'm not great on that. But what's funny with the ABCube is that when you look at how can I improve, the ABCube will teach you the beginner's method. But when you look at the statistics for the solve that you've just done, it says, oh, it looks like you used RU to solve, and these are the steps in that, and this is how long you took for each thing, so that you know where your hang up is and where you need to slow down, where you need to speed up. And because I solve my cube with the ABCube method and they don't know what the ABCube method is, they always just assume I'm doing CFOP, and it takes me 70 moves to do the first the white cross and then 0 moves to do the edge corner, all these other steps, and then then it takes so it's instead of being a little pie chart, it's just like 3 main areas, and everything else is 0 moves to do the thing. I love to speed cube. My personal best on 3x3 was 11 seconds, but I don't do it anymore because I got really bored. Yeah, when you're racing the clock, you're going to hit you're either going to keep getting better, keep getting faster and faster and faster, or you're going to hit a wall and not be able to get any faster. And whenever you feel like you're not making progress, it's easy to get bored. Someone told me when watching me do my method, they said, this is boring. And I'm like, well, number one, it's boring because I'm monologuing. You're not talking to me. If we had a chat going, it wouldn't be boring. Number two, yeah, it's boring because it's redundant. It's the same thing over and over again. If your mind is geared to learning new things, once you've learned A and B, there's nothing new to learn except for how to apply it and what to do. So the joy that I get out of cubing is, number one, teaching other people, and then number two, for cubing for me is because it is redundant and repetitive. This method it's kind of meditative for me. It helps me break away from the chaos of the world or my anxiety or whatever, and it just helps me it helps me focus and let go of whatever else was on my mind. So I cube first thing in the morning, I cube last thing at night, I cube whenever my brain wants a break. I just pick up the cube and it always works. It's completely predictable and completely dependable. The cube always does what it's supposed to do. I'm following someone on Facebook who is a cube artist. He works with like a 13 by 13 by 13 cube, and he just does all these wild patterns and designs. It's totally beautiful. So this A and B works on every n by n by n cube. For the corners are done with Formula A to bring color something to the top, and Formula B to move 3 pieces around. I do the corners, then I do the opposite edges, then I do the side edges, and then I do the centers. And it's just Formula A and Formula B. I don't need anything else beyond that. And this cube right here is another one of my favorites. This is my Whit Eden 3x9. There you go. It's a 3x3x9. And Formula A and B will solve this one as well with one minor adaptation. The only difference between this and this is when I get to where I'm working on the 9 side, instead of my top row going left and right and back and forth as I work, because when I do that, these rows don't follow. The only difference I make is in every horizontal move is 2 moves instead of 1 move. And that way I can I can affect the 9 side the way I want to. So just this thing, you know, this I could take a picture of it with your phone. I put it on. I'm gonna put it on a keychain. It's easier than memorizing hundreds of algorithms. So that's me. I'm Sunshine. What your personal best is about 11 seconds. The guy who sold, when I bought the computer so I could start streaming, the guy who sold me the computer is like, oh, what are you going to be doing with the computer? I said, well, I'm going to be live streaming. He said, well, what are you live streaming? I pulled up my 5x5 cube, and he got really excited and said, oh, how fast are you? He said, I'm 11 seconds. I'm like, that is amazing. So, but I've loved the cube since the 80s, and it just, generally I found that cubists are just genuinely nice people, you know, and they're all the same kind of weird that I am. So, so I'm here just to find my people. I am also in the process of looking for, finding, I'm trying to find an agent so I can publish this as a book, as an actual physical, tangible, real life, hold in your hand book. It's published online at abcube.how. There we go, abcube.how. And if you check out my bio, it also has a page on speedsolving.com. And it's also mentioned on Wikipedia on the professor's page as a solution for solving the 5x5. So, any questions, any comments, any bragging? Who wants to tell me what their favorite pattern, their favorite scramble is? Who wants to tell me what method they use, what method they like, why they like one method over another method? Let's see, who do I got here? Sinister Donut. So any of you guys have plans for the weekend? Are you gonna go do some fun things? You asked earlier if this was for blind, and I really don't know. Probably Cube. I really don't know how to do the blind, but I did have a trick. I had a trick that I used to do back in the 80s in school. There was a pattern that I created. I call it softball, and I've showed it before. But I came up with the pattern, and then I wrote down everything I did to solve it from scramble to solve, and then I memorized that big old hunk of lung pattern, and memorized it, so then I could take my cube and put it behind my back or behind my head, and I could solve the cube without looking at it, and I would go from a solved cube to my pattern, and then I would go put it behind my back again to go from the pattern to the solved cube, and it was it looked like I was solving it without looking at it, and everyone was amazed. But that's as close to the blind system as I've been able to do. So let me show you my pattern real quick. I don't remember the big old long algorithm that I made, but now that I've come up with A and B, this pattern is done. This particular pattern is done by using 7 formula B's with one setup in between each, one setup line in between each. So I'm going to do formula B for the corners. So that's up, up, down, down. And then rotate the top row. That would be an up plus. and then do formula B again. I undo that with my first row from my second formula B for corners. Okay, and then I row again, and so these are displaced. So that was 2 formula B's. Then I go upside down and sideways, and I do formula B for corners again. I repeat what I've done. Slide, and then formula B for corners. This is the 4th one. And slide. So that's 4 formula B's, and then I bring my left from the bottom to the front so that I'm going to do formula B for edges now, which was going to move this piece here. So 1, up, down, down, and then I lower the left back to where I had it, and then keeping my finger on this piece, I go upside down and sideways so that the piece that was here is now here on the bottom. My left, bring my left forward again. 2 more formula B's for the edges. Going to the left, that's up, down, down, up, again, up, down, down. Then I lower the left back, and this is, I call it softball, and if you look at it from the side, it looks like some method of stripes, but it doesn't just, you can't just, it's not like checkerboard, you can't just solve it that way, because each edge piece is totally flipped. So the green is here and the white is here on each of the corners. So if you had a piece of cloth that was the blue, green, and white, then this cloth would go along these 3 sides, and then the piece that's red, orange, and yellow goes along these 3 sides. And so the 2 of them, if 2 cloths come together and sewn like a softball would be sewn. So this is my softball pattern, and this one I can put behind my head, and I can solve it without looking, and it goes back to the scramble, because it's the exact same pattern to solve it as it is to put it into the scramble. So again, so formula B for the corners, that's 1, rotate the top, 2, rotate the top, upside down and sideways, formula B for the corners again, slide it, formula B for the corners again, slide it, bring the left up, and B for the edges, and left down, upside down and sideways, and then left up, and 2 more B for edges, down, up, down, down, and then lower the left. So that's as close as I get to being able to solve blind or behind my back or under a hat. That was fun back in 1981, 1982, 1983. So I used to ABCube. Let's see. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else have anything they want to say or ask me? If you have any non-cuber friends, or if you or anyone else wants to help me demonstrate this pattern and learning this method to see how it can help you improve in the other methods that you use, I am set up to do that with Zoom. My Twitch incorporates my Zoom, and I can teach up to 3 to 4 people at a time, so I can see their cube and they can see my cube, and then I just video capture from the Twitch. And so if anyone wants to do that, help me with that, or learn from me that way, as long as I can stream it for my channel, it's free. So bring me your non-cuber friends if you wanna. And in the meantime, I will be back here tomorrow morning. I'm here every Saturday morning, I'm here every Friday evening, and I'm here weekday mornings. So, oh, thank you for following me. I appreciate that. That's so awesome. I appreciate that. Okay, well, you guys go and have a great evening or morning. I don't know what time, where in the world you are. As Truman would say, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Anyway, go have fun. I'll be back here tomorrow morning. I'll be back here next week. And be nice, be kind to one another, be kind to yourself, and have fun with your cube. And come back and join me again. I appreciate you guys. Bye.